Wade and Wade reacts.
We have another Kakarot197 video, so let's get right into it.
September UC 0079, the RX-78-2 entered service, and almost at the same time, the Federation's fortunes changed. So, obviously, the RX-78-2 must have played a large role in the Federation's victory. Well, not really. When looking at the name of the series, Mobile Suit Gundam, it's easy to conclude that the RX-78-2 Gundam played a large role in that victory. But while it wasn't insignificant, it also wasn't the big game changer you might think it was. And no, I'm not going to say that its mass-produced version, the GIM, was what won the war. It definitely helped to bring the war to a quicker conclusion, and it also made it more likely for Federation pilots to survive, but again, not quite as instrumental as you might have originally thought. So today I'm going to go over some of the underappreciated units that played an instrumental role in the victory of the Federation. So, the units that won the Federation the war. The most famous one of these is, without a doubt, the humble Type 61 main battle tank and its variants. While they were outgunned and outperformed by Zeon's revolutionary mobile suits, they were eventually able to fight the Zeon onslaught to a bloody halt and gave the Federation the breathing space they so desperately needed. The biggest problem with the Type 61s was that they simply weren't designed for combat with Minovsky particles in mind. Beyond line-of-sight fire was now impossible, and at closer ranges, they lacked the gun elevation to hit critical parts of the Zaku's. Another problem at close range was the higher mobility of the Zaku, making them even harder to hit. All of this, combined with improper anti-mobile suit tactics due to inexperienced commanders, led to heavy casualties amongst the Type 61s. But even with all of the odds stacked against them, their numbers allowed them to hold the Federation's front lines for over 9 months, after which they were finally able to go on to the offensive. Operation Odessa. It might have been the first large-scale operation where mobile suits were used, but it was the tanks, in combination with the air support, that actually won the day. The Type 61 also had an upgraded variant, the M61A5. Also known as the Type 61 5+, possibly referring to the 5mm larger main cannons. Other upgrades were a satellite data link system and an autoloader that reduced the tank's crew to only 2, a driver and a commander who also acted as a gunner. Of course, as I said before, the Type 61s couldn't have done it alone. Perhaps even more important for the Federation was the fight in the air. And while I always thought that it would be either the Tin Cod or the Saberfish that were the kings in the sky for the Federation, you know, because they looked the most like a conventional fighter, it was actually the Fly Manta fighter bomber. Not only was this the most produced aircraft of the war,
I don't think I've ever seen that in action.
It even had excellent speed, maneuverability, and cruising range.
They showed it on
and the first two things I totally wasn't expecting. You really cannot judge a book by its cover. Other than being the apex predator of the skies,
you can't because it doesn't look too cool. The other one looked better.
Enough punch to shoot down Zaku's.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just like the Type 61s, they would be seen on all of the battlefields on Earth, and ensured that no matter how bad things were on the ground, the Federation would always maintain air superiority. In fact, their control of the skies was so blatant that they could relatively easily supply the wide base, even when it was deep within Zeon-controlled
develop
territory.
Anything to combat
for the
that
heavy bombing missions, then
the
Federation would rely on the Deprog, a heavy bomber that could deliver 120
He made it seem like the
tons of
Federation just
freedom
had complete
to
air
whatever
superiority
Xeon base
over
was
the Xeon.
unfortunate enough to be designated as
So I was
its
wondering if they
target.
had anything
And
in
despite
response to
being
it.
used in UC-0079, it is said to be inspired by World War II era bombers. And bombs weren't the only things that these things could carry. A remodeled Deprok could serve as a mothership for 3 Flydart ultra-high altitude interceptors. These machines were used to great effect to disrupt the Xeon supply lines, and it's said that their pilots were all aces from the Earth Federation's space forces.
They had to have some military people
despite
come
the
in and help them
relatively
map
low
out
amount
the
of
strategies
fighters
of
used during
the
war,
Federation and
they
the Xeon.
still managed to shoot down
And
a
what tech they would
significant
use
amount
against
of
the
ships
other.
and HLVs.
This is pretty tactical.
It doesn't matter how amazing the mobile suit is you're piloting if it doesn't have any fuel or ammunition. In space then, the biggest unsung hero was the Public-class assault boat, another vessel that took inspiration from World War II equipment. Gunboats this time around. The idea was that in order to bolster their devastated space forces, shuttles would be retrofitted with anti-ship missiles, turning them into ad hoc fighting vehicles. And just like the gunboats of days gone by, the idea was to fire the missiles and then make a quick escape. Here their anti-ship missiles were replaced with beam diffusion missiles. Thanks to that anti-beam smokescreen that their missiles spread, the Federation fleet was largely unaffected by Solomon's heavy beam defenses, and they could now advance much easier onto the asteroid base than they could normally have done. At the Battle of Abawaku, they would attempt the same strategy, but with a much less successful outcome. What did remain
I guess the
unchanged,
Xeon was ready
though,
the second
were the
time.
large amount of casualties that the publics took during these battles. While they were fast, they lacked armor and their agility also left much to be desired. As a result, many of those who launched would never make it back.
They're taking them out like crazy.
And the last machine then is of course the Humble Ball. But since I've already done a dedicated video on this thing, I'm just going to put a link on screen and down below so you can go check it out.
Yeah, we know a little bit about
that is
the ball.
all for this video. These weren't all of the non-mobile suits used by the Federation, but they were the ones that played the largest role in making the Federation's victory a reality.
This video was interesting as well as informative. These are definitely some underappreciated machines that were used by the Federation. In Gundam, we usually hear about either the main line of mobile suits, which are the Gundam, or we hear about the lesser suits or the grunt suits like the GEMs and other mobile suits that are used by the Federation. But to hear about some of the other technologies and machines that are not Gundams that aided in their victory in the war was definitely interesting.
Yeah, you don't really think about them either because when you're actually watching the series and the movies and stuff, they show scenes with them in there, but they don't really focus on those. And then you was asking about that, the Xeon have an answer to their air vehicles. I mean, they had their own air vehicles, but I don't really know the names of them. I'm pretty sure somebody in the comments can tell us because I only watched it once. I know people are into that. They know the name, the designated names for the suits and the actual side vehicles.
Right. That does it for our reaction to this subscriber request. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
And we're out here.
Peace.